Sensitivity is intelligence. With grace and skill, you have abundance. Welcome to the Psychic Hour. Host Kelly Brickle is a psychic medium healer, numerologist, and teacher. Her passions are learning about the soul and energy. Whether it's through spirit, emotion, or vibrational numbers, there's always a pathway of information waiting to help. Now, here is your host of the Psychic Hour, Kelly Brickle.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Psychic Hour on WLTKDB. Let's Talk Radio. And this is the interview series of the Psychic Hour. So come on in. If you have questions, you can pop them down and we will dive right into them. So we're having Anita Denise on the show today, and she is a psychic medium animal communicator. So she's a wealth of knowledge in just what it means to connect to your animals, questions about the other side, and so much more. She's going to be sharing her journey and her love for this work with you. So hello, everybody. And hello, Courtney. Good afternoon. And so we always talk about a topic before we dive in, and that kind of opens up the energy. Thank you. And that's where we go. So, and I'm just saying hi to everybody coming in. Hello, Stephen. Just pop down your hellos. Hello, everybody. It's always nice to see you. And the topic of the day, I really wanted to bring into awareness. Sometimes we have these, big topics that we just go, oh, let's talk about this. And sometimes we have these simple words that open up the space and the energy. And I really want to talk about vibration. Okay. And so we talk about that word a lot, vibration. And maybe it's a feeling for you. Maybe it's a synonym for the word energy. Maybe it is an idea for you. But it's all around us, right? It's science, it's, experience, and it's abstract as well as it's very specific, a thing. And so however you relate to it, whether logically or intuitively or in between, like how do you respond to understanding your own vibration and other people around you? And I think we can always have more understanding when it is our own vibration, because someone around us affected our own vibration, right? Now, if we're in a reading, that's a different story, right? We're going to be maybe more aware of someone else's vibration or a vibration coming to us, understandable. But in everyday life, how do you respond to your own vibration? And how do you find your vibration changing? And what is that experience like for you? Is it a feeling thing? Is it a hearing thing? Is it a seeing thing? Is it a knowing thing? And I do think this is important to talk about because we talk a lot about wellness and health, and as should be, sleeping and eating and journaling, and all that is needed, and all that changes your vibration. It really does. But what awareness do you have with the fact that you need it, other than knowing it's a good idea and maybe actually feeling like contorted or stress in your body? Is there anything beyond that? Okay. And I like to talk about that because within this work, within, spirituality, within being energy sensitive, more and more we are peeling back the layers on what it means to know ourselves and what it means to know when subtle energy is communicating with us. And there's so much subtle energy communicating with us all the time. So I asked you, like, okay, is seeing one of your signs that you're in touch with your vibration, whether it's raised or something about yourself. And one of those signs being inactivated is if you're intending, okay, show me something, spirit, show me something, spirit, and you just see things all around you, whether it's animals are a great sign, or it's like a license plate or a time or repeating number. That is your sense of sight working with you to raise your vibration. And it can let you know how you receive things most often. And so we talk about that a lot, but we've never really, I guess, gone into, well, think about it from a vibrational standpoint. How is your awareness activated? And how do you understand if you need to heal? How do you understand if you feel like you've been wonky? And it's the little indicators, right? A lot of times we touch base when we're feeling off about those little indicators and we're like, oh, I got a weird feeling within my stomach. Or sometimes you'll enter a room and you get like the heebie jeebies, or you'll just feel like off when something happens, right? And you're like, I don't know what it is. I just feel off. I don't know what it is. I just feel off. And that is an indication of vibrational like language going on within your atmosphere, within your body of, yeah, something's off. So what is that? Or I don't know why, like I just feel like something good is happening, right? And it's in relation to what energy is hitting you, whether it's in the past, present, or future, that you are having a relationship with that energy, whether it's changing, right? Or opening up. And to look at things in just a different way and to accept more subtlety into your life. So, hello, Casey. Hello, Billy Joe. Hello, everybody. So, with our intentions, because I like to talk about intentions a lot in 2023 because we're in January, like write them down, or think about them. You know, some people do their intentions early, sometimes people do them later. It doesn't matter as long as you're making intentions. You don't have to have one specific date. Um, it's just sometimes nice when people encourage you to be in that energy of intention, you know, the new year or the lunar year, when it comes up too, additionally, for another fresh start energy surge. But anytime you have the intention, write it down. Like, just think about it. Let's say you write your intention down in February. Okay. Well, halfway into the year, you get to go back 4 months and go, wow, that's where my mind was at. And you get to see where you are most in line with, where you have the most energy in. And sometimes you know that again from knowing yourself, or these subtle clues that lead you like, okay, I feel really excited about this and I don't feel that great about that. But when you look at your intentional like journaling or list, um, you will instantly see from results of, wow, it seemed my energy was more interested in that. And here are the results of. It seems like I'm not quite so ready for this, or maybe I wasn't as interested in that as I expected. Even though I genuinely am interested, it seems like my energy was going more this direction. Well, the more we're in touch with our vibration and the subtleties of how life meets us, the more, you know, we can be in that understanding actually, before we get our results. And that's the energy of really being in flow and pivoting with life. And it's a really, really fun time. So we're always learning how to be in flow. We're always learning how to grow our life. This is true. But just think back, whether you're journaling now, you know, with that topic, think back of what has transpired in your life to showcase your awareness, or showcase that, wow, I actually didn't feel like I was very connected. And it was due to, you know, me having stress a lot of time in my life. And that's what it is. Um, I know when I focus, whether it's in a meditation or a journaling, all of a sudden all this energy opens up and I go, oh, well, that's why. And that makes sense. And wow, it's like I remember this all of a sudden. And it takes me back to where I was. And to not be hard on ourselves, right? I think the number one thing when I was first developing was I wouldn't be mad at myself in a way, but I'd be very frustrated with myself because I would have all this energy open up. So I was able to work with like colors and see colors, and I was having experiences with auras, and I was hearing things and feeling things. And I could go into a lot of it. It's really cool. Like sometimes I would see like, you know, outlines of spirits, and it was very like, wow, that's right there, right in front of me. Okay. And then I would get stressed, whether I was in school at the time or whether something happened, within my life that would just cause me immense stress. Um, all of a sudden I would still be aware that I could do that and I'd get glimmers of it, but just the reliability would not be the same, would not be the same. And it was because, right, my vibration was not as how can I put it? It wasn't as aware, this is true, but it wasn't as open and it wasn't as flexible because my energy was being constrained with stress. And that's very, very normal. And I think a lot of people get hard on themselves because they're like, oh, I am this, but why can't I be this all the time? And you have to like work with yourself. You have to train yourself essentially to understand how to cope with stress better. That's been a big thing within my life, and to understand when you are stressed, how you can have a more equilibrium with that stress. Because stress is a normal part of life, and strengthening those muscles. Sometimes we are stressed, but if we strengthened the muscle enough, the vibration just doesn't change, it just is. And so we are coming into this world. Some of us have skills that are just so strong because that is who we are, whether built up from lifetimes or this is what we've come to do. Okay. And it doesn't mean we're perfect at it. It doesn't mean we're always super strong at it. But think about what skill that you have within you. And it could be like completely unrelated to your spiritual development, right? And it's like, no matter what happens, like there could be a tornado, like, the city could be like up for grabs, but you're able to tackle something. You're able to help people a certain way. It's just that energy is unaffected. That vibration is strong no matter what. And so, whether you are building upon your strengths or whether you are creating new strengths, know that there are these abilities within inside us that we can grow and we can tonify, or we can give confidence to other people within, because it's like, hey, I'm able to do this, let me show you how. And we share the knowledge of vibration with one another. So hello Monica, hello Nicole, and hello everybody. So with that said, vibration, what do you feel like? What do you know? What have you been interacting with? How have you been changing it? How have you been keeping strong all the beautiful parts of who you are and all the interesting parts of who you are? What is your vibration and how do you experience it? What sensory and spiritual intuitive information makes you go, yes, this is my vibration? So journal on it, meditate about it, think about it, feel on it. It's something to share. It's something to experience. With that said, I will see you in a moment, and we're going to bring in the lovely Anita Denise. And there we go. I'm on mute. I don't know how that happened. Isn't that so funny when that happens? So let's bring Anita Denise in and give her a warm introduction. A warm and sound-filled introduction. Hello, Anita. I want to introduce everyone to you. So, Anita Denise is a psychic medium and animal communicator. She's been working with the spirit world for over 20 years, with a huge part of her journey being in helping animals to have a voice. For Anita, everything is always about healing, with helping others, providing a healing message, or helping to assist people and furry friends heal as well. So deeply and truly. Hello, good morning.
Hi, Kelly. Thanks for inviting me along. So it's 9 p.m. in the UK.
Oh, good evening. Yes.
Great to be
Wow.
here with you.
Where are you exactly in the UK, if I may ask?
You may ask. I am in a place called Essex, but it's London borders, basically. So Essex, London borders is where I actually live. So quite sort of near the main sort of hub of London, really.
Okay, all right. I knew you were from the UK, and how I originally came to know of you is because you're also a master teacher with Lisa Williams School. And There was a focus on the UK for like a portion, so it's like all these lovely ladies came together from the UK. So, but yes, you are a master teacher.
It was 2018, I think, I was a maths teacher. So a few years now. Obviously, we had the COVID in between, so we couldn't do much. But once COVID lifted restrictions, obviously getting back out working in person again, because I've done a lot of my work online, but it's great to be in the one-to-one sessions as well in person.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, it's different to do the Zooms compared to the one-on-one in certain aspects. In other aspects, I find, how about you? I want to ask you, I feel like I've become much more energy sensitive if someone is on a screen because of all that Zoom, you know?
Yeah, I agree. When COVID first started, not COVID, when we actually first went to lockdown, I sort of did go on to move on to doing the online working, and I just thought, how? And I used to do the online dems as well, not just the mediumship demonstrations. And I thought, how's that going to work? But actually, I think spirit is so intelligent; it never lets you down if you really believe and trust. And I think it works just as well. As you say, become more sensitive because working online, you adapt your own energy to work in a different way as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as you're adapting and going back outwards with the in-person events, you're going to Norway soon, right?
Yes, the end of March. We'll be out there for about 4 or 5 days. So we're teaching with Kerry, another master teacher that was a friend of mine prior to doing the master teachers. And we're looking forward very much to going out there together and to work with Torin as well. She's a big healer. So Kerry and I both do similar work. I do more of the animal communication, but apart from that, we do pretty much the same sort of work together.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Like everyone's going to be there.
Good job.
So,
English.
would you say? Would you say?
They all speak good English. They do. Because my Norwegian's not too good.
Yeah, that's impressive. You know, you come in, you know, whole another language. Yeah, that's impressive for anyone who is bilingual or trilingual out there. So, but wow, so you're doing so much already back out and in the world, and so I wanted to ask. You work with so many animals as well as people. Do you see animals in person too as well when you work with them, or is that primarily a distance session?
Primarily, it is at distance, and I found it actually is more conducive for the animal to work at distance. Some people do prefer you to be in person, but I found it's again when you're in person, often with the animal, especially if they're a bit fearful of humans, fearful of animals. I have a lot of 8 dogs myself, so if they come to a sort of an unfamiliar environment, that can already put them in a bad place. So I think actually no, don't feel I know it's better to be remotely working with. But again, some people just prefer you to come into that space, and I'm happy to do that. But I always say it works far better online. I always work with photographs normally. Tap into the essence of the photograph, the images, the animal's name, the human's name, and it's a very good way of working because you might have an elderly animal, a sick animal, animals like traveling, and also a lot of my work does take me the 4 corners of the world. I'm not just working like London, Essex areas. I mean, I've got clients in Australia, in America, in Norway, all over the world, Ireland, all over the world. And I think it's sort of, it really, for me, it's really important to be that voice, as you say, for the animal kingdom. So being able to sort of spread my wings, so to speak, online, it opens the world up to something more, to more people to be able to connect with the animal and have a freeway conversation.
Absolutely. And so you work with so many different types. What if something is a larger animal, like a horse or something that they can't maneuver? Oh, actually, they could bring the computer to them. I just thought about that. How does that work, though?
But often you'll find with the horses, I mean, I've got friends who've got horses, so I'm a very horse person anyway. And sometimes I will go to a horse yard. So someone say I've got come down here, my horse needs to be have a chat with. I've got another lady who would like to talk to her horse as well. So in a yard it works quite well because even though I'm in person, I don't need to touch the animal. It's the energy exchange. So the big animals, I'm quite happy to travel. If it's too far, overseas or up in Scotland, say up north, then I do use the photographs again. And what they do is they give me, and I always like to see the animal's body and ideally the animal's eyes because But for me, I'm a believer that that's the link to the soul of anybody, every creature, human being. And if I can see into the eyes, I can really get an essence of what is taking place with the animal. And then I connect normally via Zoom or WhatsApp or whatever best means for the person who wants the reading. And it works very efficiently like that.
Very efficiently like that. So you also mentioned that you have, did you say 8 dogs?
Well, I did up till yesterday. I now have 9.
Wait, update. Whoa, wait. I didn't expect that. I was like, oh no, did something happen? But we have +1. Okay. Okay. Tell me that story, if I may ask.
I'm a little bit naughty of myself because I am a big dog lover. I love all animals, but I'm a big dog lover, and I do actually show my I do show my dogs. So really, I sort of I was on a puppy list basically, and it was available last week. I had to sneak it home without hubby knowing before and bring an extra one to the mix.
Oh my goodness. Wow. So do you teach them then to all respect one another? Because I would imagine there's like pack dynamics and.
Well, the interesting thing is, Kelly, my route into animal communication professionally, I actually am a dog trainer, behaviourist, so I'm animal behaviourist. So a lot of my foundation was done working literally one-to-one with animals, mostly the dogs, but that's where I sort of really was aware where my ability started to become quite proficient. So regarding back at home here, again, when I do any communications, I always, when I say, I also bring in the behavioural aspect on occasion, because if an animal's got behavioural issues, no amount of communication is going to stop the animal doing what it's going to do. Like humans, there's therapy that needs to take place. So often I can use that ability, my skill that I've got, my knowledge from that. So regarding my own animals, I have to say I do run quite a tight ship, keeping them, because I've got varying size. I've got a Doberman, I've got a Pharaoh Hound, I've got a Whippet, I've got 6 Chinese Cresties. So I've got various dogs and sizes, and they all get on very, very well together.
Wow. What you have some high energy dogs too.
I do. Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
I'm just like,
Yes.
so what is this new puppy, if I may ask? What breed?
It is another Chinese Crested, which, if you know dogs, it's a small dog, and they're. Do you remember My Little Pony? They look like My Little Ponies. They have like a plume of hair on their head, and Uggs, if you know the Uggs, and then they have a naked body. They're quite unique.
Oh, wow, that is unique. I don't think I've ever seen a dog like that. Yeah, when you were talking about Chinese, what is it in Chinese?
Chinese Crested, they're called.
Cresties. I have to look that one up. Yeah, I'm unfamiliar, but now I'm intrigued. Wow, what a unique looking dog characteristics that you're describing. Wow. Wow, so you have 9. Do you have any other animals? Do you have any other animals besides? Oh, you said you had the horses too.
I have 4 tortoises, and I have a cat as well. But my tortoises are in hibernation at the moment, so they're not too much work at the moment.
Wow. So, I mean, I can understand it if you just are so connected to the animal world, and it provides so much healing for you to be around those animals and so much happiness.
It does. It truly does.
And so every day, I would imagine you're communicating, and whether you see it as practicing or just being one with your gifts, you're able to be in that vibration of understanding how an animal communicates very differently than a human. So you're ready to go constantly, I'd imagine.
To be honest, they don't communicate much differently than we do, to be honest. It purely is, I always say to people, because I do teach animal communication, it's the language of thoughts and feelings. And as you spoke about the vibration before I came on air, it's very much about that frequency and vibration of what the animal is giving out. And most people, if they've got share their home with any animal, be it a dog, a cat, what they share with, that animal will be watching them literally 24/7. They know their body language, they know their scent, their smell, what's taking place with their human. And the trouble is with us, we're too wrapped up in our everyday mind, as the to-do list and the scientific part of our brain. But going back to that, what you was talking about, the vibration and energy, we are sentient beings. We too are animals, and we are highly intuitive, like animals are. And the trouble is, we have a lot of people have let that intuitive part of themselves go, whereas animals haven't. And that's where they communicate from that they're so high intuitive. They know, they feel, they see, and we have to just connect back to our own intuitiveness to be able to kind of connect with the animals.
It's really not, you raise a very important point. Humans are part of the animal kingdom. They're part of the animalia kingdom, so it's not that much different actually. Yeah, if you feel into it, it's slight differences, but very, very similar. Like for instance, and you would definitely be an expert in this. I haven't worked with a lot of horses, but one time someone invited me to come out and to work with a horse that she was having a lot of trouble with. And I'm like, hey, let's see let's see what happens. I'm happy to do it. Let's just see what happens. And the horse felt very different than a human's mind, even though it was just a sentient being, very similar at the same time. Very different than a cat, very different than a dog, that horse feeling. How about for you? How do you how do you find then with like horses or from dogs to cats or to tortoises that you're like, okay, it's slightly different like this?
A very interesting question, because the more I work, I must admit that the more my own awareness has changed when I work with the animal kingdom. Because when I now work with the animal kingdom, I've gone beyond the dog, the cat, the horse, the mouse, the rat. It's literally, I'm picking up on the essence of that soul being.
Yes.
So initially I've been the cat, the horse, the dog, the fish, and even like I've worked with lizards, so like reptiles. So you sort of, but my human brain was very much in the space of, oh, I've got a dog here, oh, I've got a cat here. I still like to have the image to, by having the photograph or what I call witness, the name, the species, I can tap in very quicker, I'd say, not quickly, but quicker. And then once I've tapped the connected with the animal, for me, it's about the essence, the energy of that being that's coming through. It could be, it doesn't matter what creature it is, I'm working with the soul essence of the animal.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think I was wrapped up within the tremendous physical power of what a horse feels like versus like a cat, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, you have so much physicality behind who you are and how you can express yourself. But you're right, it's a soul. It's just a soul. It's just a
Yeah.
soul.
And also animals are much more, I say, simplistic with their language, whereas when we communicate with each other, it's like we bring so much baggage into our conversations, which is good, because we are, we are humans that we want to communicate and connect with each other, and we are pack beings. But animals will be, they're cold, they're hungry, they're hurt, they're not all this access conversation. So once you tap into it, it's normally much more clearer communication when you do start working with animals.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do they you talked about having a background and being an animal behavioralist. Do animals also speak with you about how they don't want to change ever, or they're like, yeah, I'm not going to do that and it's because of this reason?
Yes, that's the first example, and actually was really aware of what was taking place, because I always love that there's the spirituality part and the working. I was aware of spirit from a very young age, but I wasn't really, and I was born being an animal empath. I just know some from a small age. I would see an animal, a wild animal that fell on like a bird fell on the floor. I'd make my mum go out and pick it up, and so it was something that was in me from a very small age. But it wasn't until I started working hands on, so to speak, with the animals. And then it's quite interesting, because we probably the same in the States. We had a lot of rescue animals coming through, rescue dogs that had been highly traumatized from their past lives, where they'd come in from overseas, and then they come to homes in the UK. And often, which happens because they were inundated with animals from overseas and the UK, they just put them in the wrong home sometimes. And then you've got the so it's and again, in the end of the day, we have to remember an animal is still an animal, and every animal will have its own innate behaviour, regardless of what it comes in at soul being. But a dog will, want to be a pack animal. A horse is a flight animal, and you have to take this into consideration again when you're communicating to improve relationship between human and animal, because that animal will still have its innate behaviour. And it was one day this lady came in. She was a nice lady, and she had this rescue collie dog. And she was getting nowhere with this dog at all. And I used to say to her, try this. So she'd go away that week. Oh, you have to come now. No, it didn't work. So I said, I was thinking something else. Try this. No, that didn't work. This went off about a month. And one day I was like, I looked at the dog and I thought, I've run out of ideas of what to suggest to help this relationship between dog and human. And the dog looked me straight in the eyes and said to me, "She's not telling you the truth." I thought, have I imagined that? And I looked at the dog again. And no, he's not telling you the truth. So it was quite interesting. So basically, I was given homework, if you want to call it, to go away and practice different sessions and to help the dog and herself. And she wasn't doing any of it. But consequently, behaviour didn't change. It stayed the same. So that was my first window. It was like I want to learn more. I want to know more about animal communication. And that's how and then I sort of did go off and do a few courses in the UK, and I actually then incorporated it in my dog training in my own school as well, my dog training centre, and I incorporated in the centre for quite some time. But then what happened was it got to the stage where I was working the dog training aspect, but also my own spirit work. I couldn't do the two together, unfortunately. One had to go to do. So I handed the dog training school over to a friend of mine. She still runs that now, and I sort of spend my time there with the animal communication and the spirit work that I do.
Wow. Yeah. What a fork in the road for a moment there, right?
Yeah, it was. It really was. Yeah.
There's so many animals that need you, so you completely opened up how you work with them. That takes a lot of bravery. That's fantastic. And wow, you've if I may ask, because you have this such innate connection with wanting to help animals, did you always know, even from a kid, that you said you were always connected to animals, but did you know, like, 100%, I'm going to have a career with animals, I'm going to help animals?
Yes, but it's strange because I knew from a very young age I wanted to be a vet, and unfortunately, I wasn't encouraged by my mum to be a vet. So it wasn't my age and all that aspect. It wasn't the done thing back then when I was at school. It's just get a typing job, do this, do that, and I literally. So I didn't become a vet, but I always wanted to work with animals, and it was more by chance how the dog training literally landed in my lap. And that's quite a story to that, quite a funny story, because I had this beautiful chocolate Doberman. He was absolutely, he was my absolute life at that time, and he was the naughtiest of dogs you could possibly have met. He wasn't aggressive or nothing. He was a gentle giant, but he was just like so badly behaved. So I enrolled into the local dog training school with him, and cut a long story short, he excelled and he loved it, and he'd come on so well. The actual lady who ran the school asked me if I'd like to help her to be trained as a dog trainer.
Wow.
And that's how that journey started, thanks to my Jimmy, basically. Yeah.
Did they go hand in hand, or as you started to open up the animal behaviorist and dog training skills, or did they come at different times?
Looking back, I would say to you, I didn't know at that time, but I know it was just there. You just sort of step into the right shoes at the right time. It just all fell into place. It just stood there. Initially, I went because I say it was hard work, and I went. But then I started to really get my passion. I loved it. He enjoyed it, and I started to sort of open my eyes on the bigger picture of the animals. The suffering of the animals. I've always been aware of animal suffering, always since I was small. But being actually in the same space, in the presence, being with literally one-to-one other people coming there with their dogs, all age groups, children, and it made me really understand the human-animal connection, how strong that animal communication can really be, so strong. And I think less people really have experienced it or seen it, they don't always understand just how strong that bond can be between an animal and their human. Even to the point where some people, it's like it's their whole life, it's their child, it's their mother, it's their father, it's everything. And that's when I become very aware, being in the presence of different people, of different animals, just how strong that bond is and how important that bond is.
Yes. And with the intuitive side of you, was that before you became a dog trainer, or was it ignited through becoming a dog trainer?
It was definitely there before I'd done the dog training. Definitely was there before I'd done the dog training. And but I think it was when I'd done the dog training, I was able to like assimilate it. It sort of made sense. It fell into space and made sense. Because when I was younger, again, my family was very supportive of what I do, but they didn't really understand. I was always like down the end of the garden playing with fairies in their mind. Where's Anita? Oh, she's making mud pies again. Yeah. That sort of thing. They didn't grasp really what I was able to do, and it's always my imagination. It's all your vivid imagination. So it wasn't until I really stepped into the dog training world that I was more empowered to. Do you know? I understand. Of like-minded people.
That's a sign for everybody. If you made mud pies as a child and danced with the fairies, you're probably intuitive. That's a good thing.
Very artistic mud pies to make as well.
I find it actually very positive, more so. But okay, wow, okay. So then, when did you start actually taking readings for people and going, okay, I can actually communicate with animals. I can actually communicate with the energy of people. Let's do the next step of all this.
Well, my first fascination with the tarot, that was my first fascination, to be honest, back in the 70s, actually. And I didn't actually, I used to, and also when you're at school, you dabble with the Ouija board, which was not ideal, but I did, as we all did at school. And that's really when I'd say to you, I started to really gather a bit more pace. I want to do the cards. I actually had a very big interest in phenomena. So that's when I didn't really probably start doing to paid readings till about 20 years ago. I started doing more work professionally. Up until then, it was like with my friends, that sort of aspect. But about 20 years ago, actually, then it got to the point where people's asked me to do more readings, and I had to sort of combine the dog club with the readings, and that's when I decided to know I'll start to do it professionally, and about 20 years roughly-ish.
That's a lot of wonderful experience under your belt. I'm going to start actually going into some questions that people are asking, as well as we'll continue to talk naturally. One of the questions someone asks are, did you study at Arthur Findlay College?
Well, that is about a 30-minute drive from where I live.
Oh.
So yes, I've been to the Findlay. And actually, I'm an approved SNU healer of the Findlay College. So yes, so that's that question.
Yeah. Wonderful. So absolutely, yes. Was that something that helped you develop who you were? Did you find yourself going to Arthur Findlay College over the years, or is it more like sprinkled?
I go to Findlay College regularly because I came into the more professional aspect as a healer. I started doing my healing work, and that's still a big part of what I do, even though I don't sort of do so much of it as I used to do. And so I did a lot of my training at the Offaly for the SNU healing, and I actually know quite a few people that are the healers there and stuff, the lead healers. So that's where I was going there regularly, probably like once a month, even a bit more than that, possibly at one point. Because I'm fortunate to where I live. It is very local.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's just a lot of community there,
There is.
to build.
And beautiful grounds as well, to walk in the grounds. They're amazing grounds with horses all around, and it's a beautiful place to go to.
There's horses on the grounds?
Yeah, if you walk over a bit further back, there's past the church there, you find horses around there, different fields. Where
that makes me want. Yeah, sorry, I'm imagining it. That sounds really nice. Oh, that makes me want to go even more so. I would think it'd be for spirit, but now it's for horses. That's true though.
If you can, book it up, and the courses over there, it's just a beautiful space. Just being in that space there is beautiful.
I've seen a lot of gorgeous pictures, and luckily, speaking of Zoom, there's been so many resources to have some of the experience, but yeah, I have not gone in person, so Wow, I can't believe you're so close. I can believe you're so close. That's fantastic. So someone's asking about I'm not familiar with her. Her name is Barbara Woodhouse.
I do
She's
know.
one. Okay, they're asking if you've met her or
No,
yes.
I've not met her personally, but I grew up because she's been in spirit world a long time now. I grew up watching her massively on the TV, and she was a dog trainer, funnily enough, and she had a very quirky way about her. But she actually has written a book. I found it literally on a jumble sale book table, and it's Barbara Woodhouse and the Psychic Pet. So at that time, I was quite young at that point, but she must have obviously been aware of the working with animals from a behavioural point of view and the psychic ability, because there's a really old book. It's probably about 30 years old or more that she's actually written about psychic pets.
Oh, okay. So it's perfect in correlation with how
Yes.
you are.
Yeah.
So continue, please.
So I've not actually met her as the same person, but I used to watch. She would be on TV every single week, and her punchline was "Wookies." If anyone hears, I'd love to watch that. But she was really funny.
Oh, that's do you find that there's any similarities, I guess, between you and Barbara, or do you have a completely different style?
I will say to you, a lot of respect for Barbara. I like Barbara, and again, you've got to bear in mind this was like back in probably like the 80s to 70s, where training methods were completely different, a lot more coercive methods. And I'm not saying thankfully things have moved on, because it's much more reward based training now. And to see, going back then, it was normal, but to see that sort of like training methods now probably wouldn't be acceptable nowadays. Bit like what we see in Milan, that aspect, it was acceptable at one point to be very coercive, but nowadays animals don't need that. It's not. It actually causes more issues and more problems.
I do think so. Everyone's evolving and
Yes.
their understanding. The person asking says, "Thank you for answering my question." And then they said, "I grew up not far from Great Dunmow."
Yeah, that's not far from the Alpha Finley as well. I know Great Dunmow very well. Got a friend who lives there with horses.
I'm learning where everything is.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm learning where everything is. It's so funny. I know this is probably not intentional, but as we're talking about locations and places, the designs behind you remind me of the American flag. It's like, yeah, I'm like, oh, I can't get away from that. So, but just a funny little tidbit. I don't know, but yes, I'm learning all the different areas in the UK. So I love talking about them. So another question was, do energies push you sometimes, like physically when working? Do they move or pull you, or do they go through you? She's like, I know that sounds silly, but how do you feel the energies when you're connecting?
No, I think it's such a good question, actually, because um, ideally, as workers, as we know, we should be grounded, shouldn't we? But we're not always grounded, and I know I'm not. It's not because I'm not. Sometimes I'm rushing around doing this and taking dogs for a walk, and that grounds me. And I come back and I'm doing something else. So sometimes I may not be as grounded as I should be. Now, where I'd say I'd feel pushed. It's not so much being pushed by a physical spirit, but where I'm really sensitive to, and I probably have all experiences. You go into, say, a bank or a supermarket, and you stand in a queue, and someone just stands a little bit too close, and I can actually feel then, if my vibration or my energy doesn't resonate with that person behind me, I actually feel like I'm being pushed forward. I want to move. I want to move like that. And it's funny because it's not probably nothing wrong with that person, but they probably don't resonate, or I don't resonate with their energy. So I would say, yes, I do feel sometimes pushed forward, but it's more from the energy or the person that I may be a little bit uncomfortable with, than opposed to, say, spirit itself. And sometimes I feel very much here, I do feel energy go through me a lot. I'm very clairsentient, and I feel energy go through me a lot, and I pick that up a lot, even in, I say, spaces. So I could go into a room, to a house, a location, and it goes right through me. And just to share my experience, I did some charity work a few years ago in a local charity shop, selling secondhand clothes and stuff, and I couldn't work there because it made me feel unwell. Because I'm laughing, but every time I picked the clothes up, I was picking up the energy of the people that had them, and put them in the shop. And I'd come out and I'd feel absolutely drained. So because the energy was going through me. And again, it's not because it was good or bad energy. It just my body couldn't cope with the energy that's going what I was picking up on.
It's understandable how you're sharing the energy, so it is just naturally going through you and interacting with you. Have you ever had sessions, whether on Zoom or in person, where the energy is pulling you to understand or interacting with the inside of your energy to understand about the animal you're working with as well?
My main senses are I see, I feel, and I know. So often when that pull towards is I know, it's straight from the gut feeling. It's just straight away. I feel that connection, that pull. Literally, if you want to, if your solar plexus, your chakra there, however you want to look at it, I just feel straight away that pull to my stomach area, where I'm being pulled towards the animal for the information.
Absolutely. Do you find, if I may ask too, since you're talking about the solar plexus pull, do you find that you ever get a heart pull or a head pull too, additionally?
Good question again, because animal communication, I always say it is a mind-to-mind communication and a heart-to-heart connection. You have to have those two in place to do a genuine, pure communication. So it's a case of like telepathically, we're exchanging information, receiving and perceiving information from the mind-to-mind communication, but it has to be this heart-to-heart connection that comes in first.
Absolutely, absolutely. So wow, yeah, it's just all three, right? 1, 2, 3. Um, someone's asking, they said, how is it that you ground yourselves, Kelly and Anita, within this work?
Well, the 8 dogs, 9 dogs pays off for. They need a little walking. So that is seriously how I ground myself. And another way, if the weather's awful, it's been awful in the UK recently, loads of rain and having hairless dogs, I don't like going out in to do a pee in the rain. So housework does me for grounding. If I do get the hoover out or do some sweep the floor, it really and gardening is another one. So there's quite a few ways I can find myself to ground, but I like to just do things. I like to do quite practical things to ground myself.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree the same way. So I have 4 cats and you have way more animals than I do. Sometimes I feel like my cats, well, they usually always ground me, but sometimes I'm like, wow, if they're really rowdy or if they're really, needing of attention, sometimes I actually can feel like I get ungrounded because I'm so invested in making sure there's harmony, right? Regarding their energies. Do you ever feel that way too?
Yes, I do, because I've got a couple of dogs, one especially. She's beautiful, but she's like bonkers, which means and sometimes I just think, oh. So when that case, I don't give her like something nice to chew. She can ground herself, and then I go and do something with my hands, because again, I like, if I'm doing something with my hands, I can ground myself quite easily. But I do understand that, because you've got the balance right, and the dogs one dog provoked the other dog, and then they're kicking off together, playing, and overexcited, and it's then getting a situation back into a calmness again. So I do understand that. Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with you with anything where the walking or using my hands to have tactile experiences and not just be in my head so much.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. Absolutely. So let's see. Let's see. I got a bunch of different ones coming in. There's one at the top. One I found kind of interesting was, someone asked, have you ever worked with, let's say, I'm going to phrase it so in a way it's understandable, with the mythical, it's like a mythological creature, or whether it's a dragon or a Pegasus or another animal. Have you ever worked within that or had experiences within that?
I haven't actually worked with mythical, say, dragons or unicorns, aspects like that, but I do work on a different sort of consciousness with the star. So unicorns, yes, I work with unicorns, but more from that 5th dimension, as opposed to animal communication. For me, is much more about the 3rd dimension, the dimension we're on here. But when we talk about like the mythical aspects, it's more, I say, towards 5th dimension. I do work up that level, but I would say to you, it's not so much animal communication itself. Is like 3-way conversation between the human, the animal, and I'm just the in between, the middle person in between, even with the spirit world. But if we want to go, say, to more, I do animal spirit guides. So I often work with animal spirit guides, which is a different dimension slightly than the working with the physical animals or the animals in the spirit world.
So do you, whether it's as a child or as an adult or a personal connection to what the unicorn symbolizes, do you believe that there are other animals like entities in the world that can embody the energy of a unicorn, or possibly are the energy like of a unicorn?
100%. Yes, I do believe that. I do believe that. Yeah. But I think it's on a slightly different dimension. I always feel they come from
Right.
sort of fifth dimension in that aspect. But I do believe that completely. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. Whether it's, a griffin, a dragon. I've always been very connected to
Yes.
Pegasi.
Yeah.
There's just something special about how they feel. So do you encourage people to bring in like the other dimensions of how animals can heal too within their imagination?
Yeah, for the healing aspect, I do. And if we're doing sort of say some journey work or shamanic work, I'd go more with that towards the shamanic work. Like when the animal communication work I do is more towards the freeway conversations when I work with clients. But then sometimes if we're doing like the same, I do group work, it's journey in that aspect. Then it's more then I bring in the unicorn, the Pegasus, working on the Merlin energy in that way.
So, if I may ask too, so you do a lot of healing work. And so, do you do active healing work for humans and animals, or do you gravitate more to one towards the other usually?
I actually I do animals and I do humans as well, and I do a lot of healing work. And what my passion is with regards to my healing work is, I don't know if you're aware, I'm a gong master, and I do a lot of gong
Oh,
work. I do a lot of
that's
gong work.
cool.
I know, which I mean I love all healing, but again, you talk about vibration, the frequency. I mean, have you ever had a gong bath?
Yes, it's nice. It's
Yeah.
very nice.
That for me is really, and also I think because if people's not experienced a gong bath before, I highly recommend you try one. If you don't try, you don't know. But it has the ability to that frequency, that vibration, to take you somewhere where you're not asleep. You just go somewhere, and it's never the same experience twice. Again, and you can do it for animals as well. But I do a lot of the cacao ceremonies and the gong, so with the healing work.
It's pretty powerful. If I may ask, do you have a planetary gong?
I do. I
Oh.
have I have several.
Do you have 9? I'm joking about with the dogs. 9 gongs, 9 dogs.
I
How
have
many do you have?
I'm just counting quickly. I have 11 gongs.
Oh my even more. So you might have 11 dogs pretty soon. Oh my goodness.
There's room for more.
Wow. Wow. So, okay, I would imagine what planets or, celestial bodies do you have just like
Right.
offhand?
No, I have. I can go for. I've got the full moon. I've got Venus. I've got Mars. I've got Uranus. I've got Sun creation. I have Chiron. I have Flower of Life. I've got Sedna, and I've got the symphonic and
Wow.
the wind gong.
Wow. So, wow. So when you do gong baths, do you have people accompany you, or do you pick a gong, and you're like, this is the theme of tonight? And
I always I do it in various ways. I do one-to-one gong sessions just for one person, obviously. Then I also do group gong sessions. I also do the gong ceremonies, so it works in different aspects. The most I've done for at one time is about 20 people on one event, because again it takes quite a lot of space. People on the floor, you need the space to do it. And then with that, it's like you don't have to have lots of gongs. You can have one gong, but I like to use at least 3 different gongs. And if I can do it from my home space, I can use all my gongs, which I do. If I go to a venue, I take about 3 or 4 gongs because there's a lot of carrying.
wow,
And
how do you go?
well,
How can you go between 3 or 4 gongs? They're so big. That Wow, like you're a woman of many talents.
my grandma would say, was it jack of all trades, master of none.
Well, you're definitely master of some, but yes, you have a very eclectic mind for sure.
Yeah,
Wow.
and yeah, just the gongs really are amazing. But the most powerful experience I had was what they call it a all-night gong pruja, where literally you have a ceremony, and there was 4 of us gonging, and you gong all through the night from sort of 8 in the morning to 8 in the evening to 8 in the morning, and but in between someone will go to sleep, and then someone will gong, you go to sleep, someone will gong, and it continues all night long, and that is phenomenal.
Wow. I've never experienced anything like that. Now, wow. Yeah.
Or you could use your dog bowls as gongs. I've done that before.
Yeah, it can work, right? Just not quite the same. Assign a planet to each bowl, even though they sound the same. Oh my gosh. So I've been to a couple gong baths. The most elaborate one went for a couple hours, and they had like 3 or 4 different people there. And so they're simultaneously playing, and it was really beautiful. They even had like fire going and a light display and everything, but it was very intricate. And so afterwards, I actually felt like there was like like a flavor of like pennies in my mouth. I could taste a bunch of metal in my mouth. And the friend that I was with, he was talking about like, oh, you're detoxing, like you're
Yeah,
detoxing. That was one of the I think that was the first gong bath I actually went to, the most, elaborate one.
yeah.
Um
And what I love, where I got interested in it myself was with wet vibration. It's not obviously you go to a gong bath, you hear the sound of the gongs. It's not the sound that does the healing, it's the vibration. So even a person who's totally deaf will still benefit from having a gong bath session. And that really intrigued my mind. So I thought, well, how can you go to a gong bath, you can't hear the sound, but it's still getting healing. So that's when I started to sort of look deeper into the aspect of that. So just sort of, yeah.
Well said. Yeah. Afterwards, my body will even just be vibrating, but my whole body is like circulating. It's like the
Yeah,
body's just circulating, and it feels different. Even if you're not hearing it, you will be stimulated in other
yeah,
areas. Absolutely.
yeah,
So someone is talking about they're talking about their dog being very sensitive, and he mentions she cries when the vets are on the telly, and tonight she was crying at the news as they were featuring like stories about COVID and children. She was crying for all the children, so his dog is just naturally very, very sensitive.
yeah. Most animals are very sensitive, and you think so. Especially, I think a lot of animals they don't realize they listen and hear all the time. They can understand what's being said. I mean, 'cause people again, if you're watching something on the TV and there's pain being expressed or upset being expressed, the animal will still have to pick up on that. It's still that vibration that's around the energy of the people that's talking about the program, what they're watching, what's being said. That animal will still pick up on that. And also, if you're watching it yourself, the animal's sitting there with you, and you tap into it and you think, oh, I don't look very nice, I don't sound nice. Your animal will be aware of how you feel as well. So if you're feeling a little bit dipped in energy because you've heard the news, or your energy has risen because of you hear good news, your animal will be literally so intuitive straight away. It's picking up on what your vibration as well.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. They just like his animal could be playing, into the emotions, playing off of, feeling off of, I want to say. Absolutely. That
A
makes
lot
total
of times
sense.
I do. You find what the work I do, animals mirror their humans completely. If they've got health issues, they tend to be similar health issues. If they're sort of a certain personality, they pick up on that. They very much hear. The mirrors are so evident the more work that I do between animal and human.
I agree with that. So, wow. For me, like I definitely understand that connection, but for you, you're in the field, you're hands-on, so you see it actually quite regularly. The
Yeah,
same like exactly the same or very similar medical conditions or emotional behavioral problems
yeah.
directed to the owner.
Yeah, completely. And again, because the more I say experience, I suppose the more you do something, the more experience the more you see things, the more you learn things, the more you know things, and the more mirrors present themselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's a question too. I'm not familiar with this name. Maybe you are. There's a mention of Dana Cooper. Dana Cooper. Is there if you know a connection to Dana Cooper? I didn't know if that was like an energy healer or an intuitive or
I will be honest, the name does sound familiar, but I can't place where I know it from. I will be honest, the name does sound familiar.
okay. All good, all good. Someone's asking. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
The liver damage, the liver can be healed. I would say yes, the liver can be healed. Liver is obviously a seat of anger, and if we're talking about an animal here, it can be picking up on your anger. If it's a rescue animal, anger, its life circumstances. There can be a reason, family breakup, all sorts of things can cause anger to sit in even an animal. And also again here, sometimes it can be dietary, it can also be hereditary. But I feel here, as long as the liver is the only organ that can regenerate itself, so with the right help and guidance, and even though I do the work that I do, I do believe in modern medicine as well. So there's holistic practice out there to be helped. But if your animals there got liver damage, it's not past the point of repair. I would suggest you look in to see more holistic food, better diets, and also look underline if there could be anger around that animal from yourself, from the animal, circumstance around it, why it could also be causing the liver damage. But yes, it can be healed.
If I may ask, since you're talking about the liver, so in the United States, the laws protecting food are quite different than the UK. Like in the UK, there's traditionally like a more higher quality of food, more laws protecting that. So do you find that most animal food is of good quality?
In the UK, no. I would say no. When I was dog training, you could tell, and no disrespect to, I'm not going to name any brands, but I could tell the dogs were fed on rubbish food by their behaviour straight away. As soon as you see it, and I don't feel that a lot of people, especially people in companies, get onto they want expensive food, and then as humans, owners, we feel we're not giving the animal our best if we can't afford premium. But it doesn't need to be premium. We can even you can cook your own meat for your animal. Bring in some veg, bring in some sweet potato, bring in some broccoli. You can carrots. You can still give a good standard diet to your dog. But I mean, in the UK as a brand, as soon as the dog, I say, well, the first question was dog had issues, what you feed your dog on? And I would know even before they had said, because it would reflect in that animal's behaviour. And it's like us, we are what we eat. So is the animal.
So true. So like please everybody get acquainted with the ingredients in your food. I'm a huge proponent of that. Like my goodness, whole foods, please. The power of food. Someone's asking additionally about sound healing and if you train in that.
I don't, because realistically I just don't have the time. I can't. I mean, I would love to, but I just don't have the time. So no. But if the lady's interested, I know excellent my mentor, my tutor, so I can pass the details on to her because she does do regular seminars. Her name is Sarah. I don't know can I give her name or not, Kelly?
Absolutely, please, absolutely.
She's in the UK. I don't, as far as I'm aware, she doesn't do anything overseas online. She just does it all in person. But her name is Sarah Gregg, and she's absolutely amazing. She does facilitate all the gong practitioners a lot around in the UK. But I can do it, but I just don't have the time.
Oh, Anita, yeah, if you have any resources where people can find you or if you have recommendations from people, yeah, please. This is like an absolute free zone of expression and I just support quality with if you do have a love for a person. Another thing I would encourage, so someone's asking about their dog and they were diagnosed with like a spinal stroke and she's not sure about that and she's looking into that. I mean, Anita does readings where she taps into the energy of animals. Can you talk about how people can come find you for that, or what you typically do work with one-on-one with people in?
Yeah, they can find me at my website, anitadenise.com, which has all the information on there, and you can book online on there. Also on Facebook, Anita Denise there, and I've got my own animal communication group, Anita, Denise, Animal Communication. A lot of my name, just put my name and you'll find it. Basically, it's all. I try to keep it simple. But on my animal communication group, I also put tips, advice, sometimes tips for animal communication for yourselves on there. But basically, if you want to find me, my website's probably the best place to go to, anitadenise.com.
And if I may ask too, what events do you have going on, whether it's coming up right now or going into the rest of the year, where people can be a part of too?
I've just literally, it's just started last week. Funny enough, I've got my first certified animal communication course. So people have come on that. It is fully booked, thankfully. But I will be also facilitating again later in the year, because I've got people on a waiting list already, where they can then go off and do the training and become certified in their own rights to be doing that. I'm also do podcasts, holistic by nature, and so I have different guests on, because I think there's so much varieties of holistic therapies out there, and it's not just for humans. I do have people on there who talk about their animals as well. A lady last time, she was a aromatherapist and a homeopath for animals. So there's a lot of things I do like that. I also am doing a palmistry course upcoming, and obviously going to Norway in end of March. So that's so far.
I just love it. Palmistry, gong, but like you have these central focuses too at the same time, and you have so many years of experience where your passions, they go hand in hand with each other. They really do. Okay, so what I always like to ask too, as well as we come to the close of the show, is there a word of or words of wisdom that you can share with the audience, something from your heart that you'd like to promote too?
Yes, there is actually. I just read about words, and as we talk about communication, I think words have wings. So speak of good things.
It's powerful and it's true. Speaking of things that are great and good, thank you, Anita Denise. You're one of them. You're so much more than that. Thank you for your lovely soul, for being here today and presenting all your passions and wisdom. You're always invited on. Thank you so much. And so with that, we're going to say to everyone, go with love, luck, lights. And don't forget to live. We will see you next week. Thank you so much, Anita.
Thank you. Goodbye. Good night. Bye-bye.
The truth is here and now on WLTKDB Talk Radio at WLTKDB.com.